Mass testing is underway in Taoyuan amid a cluster infection that's suspected to have been caused by the highly infectious Delta COVID variant. The cluster involves the teenage son of an EVA Air pilot who had been in contact with a known Delta case. The student tested positive on Friday with a CT value of 11, meaning a high viral load. The student had attended 1 day of classes at his high school in Taoyuan. Now all his classmates and their families have been put in isolation in government facilities, and the school will remain closed for 14 days.
Of the 2 imported cases, 2 are EVA Air crew. In their most recent assignment, they went to Australia and back. They were tested 2 days after returning to Taiwan, and they showed positives. One of the local infections is the son of one of these airline employees. He's a student at a high school in Taoyuan.
The student had attended 1 day of classes at his high school on September 1st. The student later reported feeling unwell and was administered a PCR test. He was diagnosed COVID positive on Friday with a CT value of 11. All 2,800 students at the school are now being screened for COVID, and the school will remain closed for 14 days.
We are being more cautious in handling this case. The whole school will close for 14 days. The reason for that is that we have strong suspicions that the infection may have been caused by the Delta variant, so we must be careful. The students in his homeroom class will have to undergo 14 days of isolation at a government center. Their families will be put in preventative isolation at a quarantine center as well. Once all of his homeroom classmates have been screened with PCR tests, and we are certain that they couldn't have infected their families will be released from preventative isolation early. His other classmates will have to remain in isolation for 14 days. People that used the classroom after the infected case will also be subject to 14 days of isolation.
The isolation rules mean more than 500 people will be sent to centralized quarantine centers. To prevent Delta from spreading in the community, the CECC has also put Taoyuan on a heightened level 2 COVID alert.
These 3 cases live in Taoyuan, and their whereabouts were mostly in Taoyuan, so we're enhancing the alert level in this city. Gatherings will be capped at 50 people indoors and 100 people outdoors. Events exceeding those limits will have to apply for approval. Markets and supermarkets must implement stricter crowd control. Patient visits will stop at hospitals and long-term care institutions, save for exceptions authorized by the center. Private caregivers and companions will be limited to 1 person. All remaining regulations remain as for the normal level 2 alert. We will have a 7-day observation period and will review the regulations on a rolling basis.
Taiwan has registered 3 breakthrough COVID infections in pilots who had been fully vaccinated against the disease. The CECC had originally scheduled tighter controls on airline crew to start September 15th. But amid the recent cluster infection, the measures will start on Friday. That means all airline crew, regardless of vaccination status, will be required to quarantine at home upon returning to Taiwan.